Hello, my name is Derek Schultz. I'm the creator of what you're watching now, which is a film called Anime. I'm doing this commentary because lots of people tend to ask me about my process, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to do this. Also, I want to give a shout out to Stephen Broomer from Art and Trash. He does similar things to this for other people's films, and I've always kind of loved that format, so kind of stealing this from Stephen, so thanks. The title Anime is a bit of a pun. What you're seeing right now are these what are called tone textures, and they're mostly used for manga comic books. And what I did is, in one evening, I sort of took a bunch of those strips and taped them to 16mm film. So the name is kind of derived from that process, which is like making these manga things move, which in some ways is kind of what anime is. Those strips were then contact printed to black and white high contrast film stock. And then what you kind of see throughout the rest of this film is me doing different things with those contact prints. Contact printing them to more different colored gels, like that sort of thing. We'll get to some of the process to create some of these crazier pieces, but essentially what you see now, right now, is literally these tone strips moving. The film runs at about 48 frames per second, and different sections run at 6 frames, 12 frames, 18 frames, 24 frames. 48 frames per second tends to be really nice because I can break it down into all those components fairly easily. So you kind of are seeing the film move at different speeds, and that's sort of like where then the process comes from. I should also give a shout out to Pepe. The soundtrack for this is Bridging Mechanics, which is a song of theirs. I actually chose the song in part because it does a lot of this speed up, slow down kind of thing, which I thought would sort of allow me more opportunity to play with the different speed formats in the film. So here you're seeing, also we use a lot of different positive and negatives, so different A and B elements of the film to sort of create these different black and white textures that sort of are inverting and not inverting. I made this film for a screening that I had at Mono no Ware, which is a film lab and film community that I work out of. And I sort of had the summer free from doing anything else, so I sort of decided to make a couple extra films for that screening. This was one of them. Another one was Mycelium Network, which you can also watch, and I'll probably eventually do a commentary for as well. And they both do the same thing. They both are this bipacking contact printing system, but they both explore it in very different ways. And hopefully if you watch Mycelium Network, you'll kind of see how different that film looks. But the actual process of making the pieces was quite similar. With anime, I wanted to sort of set up the structure where I was doing a lot of lighting. Basically, you sandwich two pieces of film together in a camera, and then I was doing a lot of backlighting or adding a light directly pointed at the camera lens. And that kind of mirrors how anime was made in the 80s and 90s. There's a lot of processes where they were doing different layers of cells, and they actually had a light coming out from behind it that was sort of backlighting the system and creating these really beautiful glows. So in some ways, it's kind of also an homage to sort of the process of how that was working. Here you'll see, like, this is kind of where I did some inversions and play with the color a little bit. I should mention I cheated in a couple scenes. Not every one of these pieces is completely filmic. I sort of ran out of time, and I did end up doing some inversion directly in my editing process. But for most of the stuff, what you're seeing is literally out of the camera, some scanning, a little bit of color correction, like that sort of thing. But overall, like, most of this film is made as is. We're now getting to the really crazy part. This actually uses a process called Chromaflex. Chromaflex is this kind of crazy development process. I believe it was created by Richard Toohey. And basically what it does, it allows you to create both what's called reversal, which is like the image is what you see when you shot it, as well as negative, which would be the negative image. So in the process, it's a lot of hand processing, taping elements, removing elements, processing things in different ways, and you get this sort of, in a single picture frame, you get both the positive and the negative image. And that was a really fun process. Shout out to Sonia Khan, who sort of was also from Mono, and sort of told me about it and gave me some tips on how to do that. Worked in very small elements, and what I kind of love about sort of working this way and slowing film down and speeding up is I can really work off of the individual film element on the cell level rather than sort of like thinking about these as a whole picture. So really highlighting sort of the textural tone of these tone sheets, essentially. Chromaflex will come back again in a minute because I really love that section, how flashy and stroby it is. But you also really can't make out the individual details of those pieces. I really want to sort of highlight a way to show more of that as well. So we'll come back again in just a second. Most of this was made in After Effects. I probably could have eventually like optically printed this, but that would have been a nightmare. Here's the other section where the ChromaFlex comes up again. This was the only process that actually uses AI. Most of my films use AI, but this film actually is mostly in camera and then editing. This section actually does use a thing I've used in one or two of my other films. It uses a process where you take every single individual frame and you feed it to a machine learning model and you sort of tell it where to start from. And then it goes in and tries to find the next most logical frame. And when you feed it something like this, which is very chaotic and all over the place, it kind of makes up sort of different connections between things. And I love how at the very end of this film, we're almost at the end of this piece, it takes all the disparate elements from the film and kind of brings them all together in a way that I think combines things in ways that I don't think as a human would even think about doing this. So I kind of love that you'll see here it kind of moves between different pieces. It moves between these ChromaFlex elements, and then it moves back to some of the other individual scenes. So that was Anime. I definitely would encourage people to watch it with the sound on. It's more or less an audio reactive film, but I kind of love